Welcome to 5 Minutes with Jack, the ramblings of an insane entrepreneur, where I help you tie into your passion to generate profits by building a business that you love. Hey folks, Jack Spirko here with episode 32. I think it's 32. Let me check on that one for you. Yeah, it's episode 32 of 5 Minutes with Jack, and we're going to get back to the Internet Marketing Landmines report. And we're up to landmine number 6. For those that don't know, maybe these are 12 things that a lot of internet marketers do that I believe really harm or in some cases destroy their business. And making these mistakes early on, and to be fair to myself, we're talking before, a lot of this information is available now. Most of it wasn't available. I learned the hard way coming up as my own person, so to speak, learning as I went not to do these things. And one that's really important, the one we're going to talk about today, is not tracking everything that you can possibly track. Now, when I originally authored the report back in 2004, I put on the report, and I mean everything. I'm not as religious with tracking today as I was then for a couple reasons. One, because there's so many more ways to track it, so many more things that you can track today that you can get into analysis paralysis, I guess. But I'm still big on having the ability to track actions, intentions, and traffic sources. Those are your big things that you want to make sure that you're tracking. And for instance, one of the big things that you need to be tracking is where does your traffic come from, especially from an SEO standpoint, search engine optimization standpoint. Where does your traffic come from in the long tail? And this way you can do what I call mine for gold in your own analytics. What you'll often find is that you come up with this obscure term that it doesn't seem like a lot of people search for, but maybe you get 10 visitors for that term this month from Google. Now, you'll only know this if you're tracking and you're using analytics or some sort of tracking program, and you look it up and it turns out that you're like number 8 on Google for this term. Now, you never tried to rank for it, it's not competitive, and if you got 10 visitors from being ranked number 8 on Google for this term, then what you'll end up doing is if you were to move up to like position 1 or 2, which is really not that hard if you optimize for the content at this point, you'll probably get maybe, if you got 10 at number 8, you'll get as many as 100 or more at number 1. Now that's not a lot of visitors, but if you repeat this process over and over and over again, if every month you find one long tail term that's getting you a handful of visitors that you have a reasonable front page ranking for by accident, now this is only going to happen if you're tracking and if you're putting out lots of good content, and then you make a new piece of content optimized for that phrase, build some links around it, just 1 or 2 links that are optimized for that phrase, you'll find yourself taking countless number 1, number 2 positions in these long tails, and long tail traffic that you know already works because you found it on your site. And here's a big thing, you also want to look at things like bounce rates. If you have 2 terms and you have time to do one this month, and one has a bounce rate, meaning people come in, they look, they go nowhere else, and they leave of like 90%, and the other one has a bounce rate of like 60%, you know which one to optimize for, but only if you're tracking. There's a lot of other things that we need to be tracking. You need to be tracking actions that your visitors take, including things like opting into an email list. Now, a lot of people think, well, I don't need to worry about a goal for that or anything. If I use Aweber or MailChimp or whatever, they give me a form. I put that form on my website, people opt into it. I get an opt-in percentage every month. But if you're writing a blog and a lot of your visitors are returning, you don't know how effective that conversion of that email form really is. If you're putting it into a landing page and using the same form on a landing page that you are on the main page of your blog, where are your conversions coming from? How many are from new visitors versus returning visitors? If we look at if we have a good blog and we have 10,000 people a month that routinely come back to the blog, a couple times a week, they're going to make our conversions look a lot lower than they are versus new visitors. Without tracking, we don't know that. How do you track? Google Analytics, very simple way to track. We set up a goal and we say step 1 in the goal is this landing page one.php. And step 2 is when you hit submit and it redirects you to a thank you page to get to thankyou.php. And you say that's the goal, to get to this page through this page. And then you can look at all the traffic that came through that page. And the most important thing is you can go back and see, well, where did it come from? Did it come from StumbleUpon? Did it come from Google? Did it come from Facebook? Why is this important? Because wherever the best traffic comes from, wherever your best conversions come from, you can spend the most time and money on that and know you do it effectively. But here's the big one. If you're not tracking this type of stuff, you will never come up with the absolute most important metric that you could ever come up with. Value per visitor. Every visitor to your site has a value. And you can come up with an aggregate average. From any good traffic source, you can basically say, a visitor to my site, a new visitor, is worth a quarter, they're worth 50 cents, they're worth $1, they're worth a nickel. I don't know what that number is, and you won't know either unless you're doing effective tracking. Here's the thing. Once you know what that number is, once you know that the average visitor that comes to my site, X% convert to a subscriber, X% of subscribers convert to a buyer, my average sale price is, my average margin is, so when I take all those numbers and do some basic mathematics, a visitor to my site, a new qualified visitor to my site is worth 75 cents. I can now go crazy with my advertising. Any place I can get visitors for, let's say, 50 cents, I can buy as many as I want. If I get 50 cents value per visitor, then I've got to figure out what margin I want. But without that number, all of my advertising is wasted. I don't know how much I'm making. I don't know what my return is. I don't know if I'm profitable. I might be profitable, but if I have 10 advertising campaigns going on, it's probably 2 or 3 that are making me a lot of money. And I'm probably losing money or breaking even on the other 6 or 7. It'd be nice to know. The problem with advertising has always been just that. People say, I know that I get most of my results from 20% of my advertising, but I don't know what 20% that is. Very hard to track things like bulletin boards offline, infomercials, radio advertising. Online, you can track every single thing. So make sure you're running good analytics on your site. I run multiple analytics. I run free stuff like SiteMeter. I run Google Analytics. I run several different WordPress plugins like StatPress. I look at every Woopra, something I just learned about. I'm going to start running Woopra. W-O-O-P-R-A, I believe is how it's spelled. I learned about that at Open Camp. Never really messed with it before. I'm going to start running that. But anything you can do to get insight into what's going on your site, make sure you're doing that. Without that, you have nothing. Online, if you run a campaign, you put a banner out on somebody's site, you pay them $300. At the end of that month, you should absolutely know how well that paid off for you. And it doesn't matter if you like the site, if you have affinity with them, it's either profitable and you stay as a sponsor, or it's not profitable and you don't. And if it's profitable, you look to do more with that source. And if it's not profitable, you redirect your spending. That's smart business. That's treating an internet marketing business like a real business. That's what you need to be doing. And with that, we'll wrap up. Remember, you get the entire internet marketing download, Internet Marketing Landmines PDF download for free at jackspirko.com. And we'll be back soon with another episode. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of 5 Minutes with Jack. To learn more, connect with our community, and get free resources to build your business, visit jackspirko.com.